Hey moms and dads, if you're tired of getting the deer in the headlights response every time you bring up family plans with your kids, let me introduce you to your new best friend, the Skylight Calendar. Skylight Calendar was designed to help you manage the chaos of family life. Ditch the mental load of juggling everyone's schedules by pulling it all into one clear space. This all-in-one, smart touchscreen calendar brings visual structure and color coding across your schedules, tasks, lists, and other family needs. Right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendars by going to myskylight.com/get30. Go to myskylight.com/get30 for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That is myskylight.com/get30.
Hi, who here loves when their nails are perfectly done? Me. I'm Sarah Gibson Tuttle, and I started Olive in June because, let's be real, we all deserve to have gorgeous nails, but who wants to spend a fortune or half their day at the salon? And that's why I created the Mani system, so you can have that salon-perfect manicure right at home. And guess what? The best part? Each mani only costs $2. Yep, you heard me, $2. No more $30, $40, $50 salon trips that eat up your day. Now you can paint your nails whenever you want, wherever you want, and trust me, you're going to be obsessed with your nails and everyone is going to ask you, where did you get your nails done? And here's a little something extra. Head over to oliveinjune.com and get 20% off your first Mani system with code PERFECTMANI20 at oliveinjune.com/PERFECTMANI20. That's code PERFECTMANI20 for 20% off at oliveinjune.com/PERFECTMANI20. You're all set for a nail glow up. Let's get those nails looking fabulous, shall we?
Oh, the kettle's boiled. Excellent timing. I'll just make myself a quick cuppa, take a deep breath and pretend I know exactly what I'm doing. Right, let's get started. Have you ever woken up on a Sunday morning with massive anxiety and said to yourself, I'm never drinking again, only to find yourself waving $50 at a barman by happy hour? Do you ever wonder why everyone else can stop at 1 while you end up at a dodgy after party holding hands with a weird bloke called Disco Dave? If so, it might be time to take a closer look at your reliable social crutch, alcohol. On this podcast, I investigate my own deeply dysfunctional dealings with booze and find out what it's really like navigating this alcohol-drenched world, one fizzy water at a time. I'm going to open up a shame shed of humiliating drinking stories to help you understand why waking up with one eyebrow missing and a kebab sticking out of your top pocket might actually be negatively impacting your health. So what happens when you put down those cheeky pints and finally let go of those rewarding mummy wines? I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm Victoria Vanstone, and this is Sober Awkward. Right, let's get my headphones on. I just got back from a lovely walk with my beautiful friend Michelle, and we went to a part of Coolum near where I live, where apparently you can sit up on the rocks and see turtles underneath swimming around. So we thought, yes, we'll get up early and we'll go and do that. Somebody even said there's like stingrays flying around in the water. What did I see? Fuck all. Typical, isn't it? I went to the one spot on the Sunshine Coast where you're supposed to be all these magical animals, and all I saw was some seaweed. So yeah, it was a lovely walk though. Always love spending time with my beautiful friend Michelle. She's bloody gorgeous. Here I am in the Sober Awkward studio, and I've got an amazing guest coming on today. She's written a memoir called I'll Try Anything Twice, and honestly, the title alone feels very on brand for Sober Awkward, because if there's one thing former drinkers and party animals have in common, it's that we've tried a lot of things in our quest to feel better, or feel braver, or feel happier, or just feel anything at all. Sometimes for me, that looked like partying harder. It also looked like chasing adventure. Sometimes it meant moving countries or careers, or falling in love with the wrong people, or convincing myself that the next big life decision might somehow fix everything. But mostly for me, those big life decisions were who was getting the next pint of Stella for me, so that never ended well. Carly Schwartz's new book is exactly about that search. From the outside, Carly seemed to have everything going for her. A huge journalism career, a busy social life, the kind of life many people aspire to. But behind the scenes, she'd been struggling with deep depression since she was a teenager. And by her 20s, she was coping the way many of us do, with alcohol, with drugs and chaos and adventure, and a constant search for something that might finally make her feel okay. That search eventually led her somewhere pretty unexpected, a mysterious, sustainable town being built in the Panamanian jungle, which I can't wait to hear about. It sounds like the exact sort of place I would have ended up. The book is funny, brutally honest, and full of those moments where you think, oh yes, I think I could have probably done that too. Which brings me to a little confession of my own. Is there anything I have ever tried once? The title got me thinking. There was a sexual encounter I had in Brighton in the early 90s, and I think all I'm prepared to say about that was that we didn't get to 70. And I once snorted a mysterious brown powder at a policeman's house. This is a true story. To this day, I have absolutely no idea what it was. But of course, looking back, I'm guessing it might have been heroin. But the ridiculous part is that I never bothered to ask. I just snorted up my nose and thought, well, I'm going to do this now. Everyone else was doing it, so I did too. Classic people pleaser, Victoria. Yes, I know. I can hear you shouting it on your dog walk. Stop it, Vic. Look after yourself. Luckily, I absolutely hated it. I puked up and never did it again, which is great, because otherwise I might not be sitting here chatting with you lot today. But it did make me think about Carly's book title, I'll Try Anything Twice, because clearly I've tried a few things in my life, and not all of them were just once. I think that's the little addict in me wanting more and more and more of everything. So when I sat down with Carly, the first thing I asked her was there anything that she only tried once?
So do you want the salacious answer or do you want the PG rated answer? Because I can think of two and I can relate them both to my addiction.
I want them both.
Okay. So the salacious answer is a sexual encounter with a woman. I have only tried it once. I think I'm the last straight person in my peer group, I have to say. Like, everyone seems to be somewhere on the bisexuality spectrum except for me. And I used to joke that I was aspirationally bi because it just made my options so much bigger. And I love women. I went to all girls school. I have so many female friends. I just, unfortunately, no matter what I was under the influence of, have never been attracted to them sexually. So I did try it once, never went back.
That's a good one.
And the PG or the G-rated one is backpacking. So I went backpacking when I was at summer camp in my teens. And I was the most miserable I've ever been in my life as an innocent, sober child. I cried the entire time. For the life of me, I do not understand. And if you can explain to me the appeal of hiking uphill in the heat with 80 pounds on your back for days on end till you're covered in blisters and sweating and wanting to crawl into a hole, please explain that to me. None of my backpacking friends can explain to me the appeal. But I use this story because I think the whole time I was drinking and using and going through depression and just questioning my sense of self, I always wanted to be the kind of person who could do something like that, who could be this like fun, outdoorsy, carefree. I always wanted to be someone I wasn't. And I think it's only in sobriety that I feel really comfortable being like, no, I don't fucking like backpacking. Like, you couldn't pay me to do it now. You know what? I will do lots of things, but I will never do that again.
By the sounds of it, Carly, we are quite similar. I'm going to make a guess at that. You've written a book called I'll Try Anything Twice, which resonates massively for me, which I mentioned in the intro. I don't think I've ever tried hardly anything once. Your background is based in journalism, but your real background is based around probably overdoing it, which is what I base everything I do upon now. I was an overdoer of everything. And on podcasts, the trajectory is often of wellness, but we have to unfortunately pop back into the nitty gritty to find out a little bit more about you and your turning points. So where did it all start, Carly? Or where did it all go wrong?
Right. I mean, I just have to say, I love the way you put words to things that I've never considered myself having a PhD in overdoing it, but you are totally on the nose with that description. So thank you for seeing me for who I am. But where did it all go right? I think the interesting thing about my addiction was that it was really tied up in my severe, severe depression. From a really young age, I was in these sort of competitive environments and learned the really, really exhausting habit of comparing myself to everyone and not measuring up to anything I heard. It didn't matter what I did. If I met someone who did one thing that I didn't know how to do, like play field hockey, I didn't focus on the fact that I had made the all-state choir for singing. All I would think about was that I would never be a good field hockey player. It was just these grooves in my brain telling me I was never good enough and would never measure up. And I think I'm biologically predisposed to depression. It runs really, really far back in my family. I hear all these stories of ancestors who've struggled with all sorts of different things on all sides. And so I really do believe that it's a genetic form of inheritance that I can thank my lineage for. But I learned early on that substances were an amazing way to escape from that. And I remember drinking for the first time, and I this is a story I hear all the time in sobriety circles. Just your social anxiety falls away, your sense of self kind of becomes so much dramatically bigger, and you're confident, and it was kind of just off to the races. Really, high school and college was where I realized the worse I felt, the more I could escape by putting things into my body. That brought me further and further away from who I really was and what I was really struggling with and what my pain was. And I think the great irony that I explore in my book is the problem with that is that the one thing that makes you feel better is the one thing that's keeping you from getting well. Yes. And so the more I chased these extreme experiences with drugs, alcohol, men, anything, I was making it harder and harder to access the care that I needed for myself. And obviously there's all sorts of scientific reasons that drinking perpetuates depression and drugs make it impossible for your antidepressants to work. And so I think that is the origin, this just desperate need to want to escape myself and my mind that just kind of tortured me for every waking moment, unless I was hiding in bed or partying. And I could keep the voices at bay. I had a really sort of intense career in my 20s, and I managed to quiet those self-hating voices just far away enough by throwing myself into my work and then partying at night and kind of burning the candle on both ends. I'd get into these really addictive, toxic relationships that were super distracting from the mess in my own mind, because I could focus on the mess transpiring between me and my boyfriend at the time. And then I think pair that with just an adventurous spirit. I mean, I still do consider myself an adventurous person. My parents joke that I was eating sushi as soon as I had teeth. Like, I like to try things. I like to do things. I'm an experience junkie. And now as a sober person, those adventures just look a lot different. It's more like I'm going to take a hot air balloon ride, or I'm going to spend the month of March working from Mexico and getting scuba certified, and a lot less, let me just do whatever this white powder is. I don't even know, and I don't care.
It sounds, Carly, a lot about escapism, your journey. It's about running away from reality a little bit, which I did too. I left to go traveling when I was probably 19 or 20, and I didn't come back for 10 years. I lived all over the world, traveled everywhere, lived in Cambodia and in Thailand for years. And I did exactly what you did. And I found a level of escapism in not being around conformity. That was something that I was trying to escape. I didn't like the norm. I didn't like people that stayed living where they were born. I thought they were boring. I never, ever could consider boredom. It was like, no, I'm going to really, truly live my life. And actually, looking back, I wanted to do things differently, and I always have. And I can always say, oh, well, I was trying to escape. I was trying to do this. I was running away from my problems. But also, I can look back with a little bit more of a light heart to my younger self and go, it was partly that, but there was a little part of me that just wanted to experience life fully and go head first into the colours and the cultures and what's out there. I was bored where I lived. So there's some part of me that has empathy and kind of respect for the younger version of me to go fully against everything that everybody was telling me to do. You're told to go and get a job, you've got to have a career in your 20s, you've got to go fully into that. But I was like, there's no way I'm doing that. That is not for me. That's taken me a long time to come around to being kind to myself about that, because everyone's like, you run away, you run away. Do you look back and go, was it running away, or was there a part of you that was just like, I want to see the world, I want to do cool stuff?
I think it's really interesting that you put it that way, because I think a lot of being in recovery for me has been about not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like, certainly there's an escapist narrative. And I think it's kind of like when I first got sober, my therapist said, okay, well, you're addicted to hiding in bed when you're depressed, but you also still need sleep. So we're not going to take the bed away entirely. We're just going to reframe our relationship with how we interact with our bed. And for me, like, travel, exploration, adventure is, I mean, there's so much to be gained. I mean, I would love to have had your experience in your 20s. Even now, as a sober woman looking back, that sounds incredible. And I love the idea of coloring outside the lines. My life looks nothing like a lot of my 40-year-old friends' lives look. I don't have children. I live with a platonic domestic partner figure who we build our lives together, but we're not in a romantic relationship. And it's taken me a while to accept that these unconventional paths also have value and merit if they're serving you and if they're feeding your life. I was really hungry to see the world, and I do not regret doing that for a second. I think I spent a lot of my 20s in this really fast-paced career, and I remember right before I landed in that job that kind of catapulted me on this journalism online news track, where I couldn't step away, or I didn't want to step away because I kept, advancing, was weighing either doing that or moving to Argentina to go work in a youth hostel and like learn how to surf, and not even knowing if there were, how far away surfing was from Buenos Aires. I now know it's several hours by bus. But I think that kind of notion never left me. Like, I want to see the world with my eyes and not just through a computer screen. I think there's so much to be gained through cultural exchange. And I've always had a reverence for the Spanish language. I minored in it in college. I studied abroad in Madrid, but my depression was so bad there that I almost feel like I missed out on really immersing myself in what that could be. And so when I left my job and moved to Latin America, I started in Mexico on a fellowship that I talk about lightly in the book. I don't really go too far into it. And that to this day remains one of the most valuable experiences of my life. I would love to take the mezcal out of it and the drugs out of it and the partying out of it, strip it away from that. And I truly, truly...
Vic, so do you fancy coming on a sober holiday?
Don't worry, we're not talking about some corporate wellness retreat with cucumber water and enforced eye contact.
No, this is a sober awkward retreat. 8 days of sun, sweat, laughter, and absolutely no hangovers.
Yep, it's all happening in Thailand next October. Picture this: yoga at sunrise, writing workshops, ice baths, Thai boxing, and lots of awkward sober dancing under the stars.
It's a proper holiday with proper weirdos, our kind of people.
Yeah. You'll meet legends who've also given the booze a boot and want to have fun without feeling like a social reject.
Come solo or grab a mate. Bring your awkward, bring your sun cream. No pressure, no judgment, just a big, warm, sober hug in paradise.
All the info is at soberawkward.com/retreats. Come and get sweaty with us, emotionally and physically, in our all-inclusive jungle resort. You'll start out as 15 strangers and leave with 15 new sober mates.
I'm not sure I want 15 new sober mates, actually, particularly sober ones.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're not invited then.
Hey moms and dads, if you're tired of getting the deer in the headlights response every time you bring up family plans with your kids, let me introduce you to your new best friend, the Skylight Calendar. Skylight Calendar was designed to help you manage the chaos of family life. Ditch the mental load of juggling everyone's schedules by pulling it all into one clear space. This all-in-one smart touchscreen calendar brings visual structure and color coding across your schedules, tasks, lists, and other family needs. Right now, Skylight is offering our listeners $30 off their 15-inch calendars by going to myskylight.com/get30. Go to myskylight.com/get30 for $30 off your 15-inch calendar. That is myskylight.com/get30.
It transformed me in ways that, you know, staying in the professional world never could have. I remain really close to this day with a woman in her 60s who lives in a rural village 3 hours outside of Mexico City. I take the bus to go see her every time I'm down there. I'm fluent in another language now. I just have such a deep respect and I guess reverence is the word I use, you know, for the culture, for the values. And then going down to Panama was just trying to chase that even more. You know, it was like I did a really scary thing. I moved to a new city where I knew nobody, where I, you know, wasn't fluent in the language by myself and kind of had to build a life. And I got so much from that. I would never want to do that again now where I'm at in my life. But I wouldn't be who I am if I hadn't done that. And then with Panama, it was like, yeah, but then I met this guy and he invited me to go to his town and it was in a jungle and they were partying and it sounded really weird and it sounded really unlike having to go home to the States and face my issues. And I had gone through a breakup with the person I was in a long distance relationship with while I was in Mexico. If you want to read about a really big train wreck, you can check out my book. And yeah, I think there was a lot of that at that point. This sort of, I want to keep running because the weirder it gets and the more kind of adventurous and crazy my life looks, I don't have to face what's going on inside of me.
And did you feel that when you were drinking, did your drinking escalate the more depressed that you felt? Or did traveling help with your depression, or was it just kind of part of the roller coaster?
Traveling really did help with my depression in a way that nothing else had. I think it was the combination of being on my own, mastering this language, doing things totally on my own terms, making my own friends, forging this life. And as I write about in my book, by the time I got to Panama, I was swinging so far on the other side of depression, it was almost looking like mania. I mean, it could have been a flavor of mania. And what ended up tanking all of it was, and I was partying so much. I mean, we just had abundant access to every substance we could get our hands on. And I mean, I like had this stash of boxed red Panamanian wine that I kept with like drink it in a mug. And of course that didn't seem like a problem because everyone else was doing it. And during that time, I went off my antidepressants, just really horrifically irresponsibly. And that's what ultimately led to my demise. Was like, yes, to answer your question, and when I'm depressed, the substance use does get worse or did get worse, you know, knock on wood, hopefully I never get back there again. But also I was feeling so good that I kind of became my own worst enemy and put myself in danger by removing, I think, the one safeguard, which was these antidepressants that had been keeping this condition, you know, relatively at bay so that I could at least function and have my career and have my traveling in my 20s.
Yeah. It's amazing how when we travel, like, it wouldn't have mattered where we go, you know, we would submerge ourselves in these drinking or drugging communities thinking, well, this is normal. I'm just going to, you know, go along with what the locals do and do what everybody does and fit in. And I sought out those communities wherever I went because I thought, well, this is how I'm going to get to know people, is by going to the local bar and having a few drinks and meeting a few weird people along my journey, which was the brilliant part of my travels. I was always a solo traveler like you. And that was my favorite bit, was at the beginning of the night, being totally sober, knowing that I was about to go on adventure. But of course, that's the brilliant side. Like you talk about the bed that I was lying in, but there's the other side of that, which I only see now, of course, in retrospect, is the danger and the risk that I put myself, you know, the beginning of the night, it's all very funny and what's going to happen. And isn't this an amazing adventure that I'm going on? But then ending up in some bloke's cabin, having had sex with him giving me cocaine, you know, like it's not as frivolous and as fun and as innocent as it all seems at the beginning of the night. And in fact, I put myself in danger all the time. And looking back now, it's incredible that we're both sat here today because some of those situations I was very, very lucky to make my way out of. I do think I had a good monitor of whether somebody was good or not. Did you come away from Panama when everything came to a head? Did you think, right, this is fun, but I am generally putting myself at risk sometimes? Was that a point where you thought maybe I need to make some changes?
Not really. I think it took me hitting the real rock bottom. You would think being in a jungle with a plastic bag over your head, trying to suffocate yourself to death. I try to talk really openly about, you know, suicidal thoughts, suicidal gestures, because I think it's one of the places that people are still a little afraid to tread in casual or friendly conversation for good reason. It's highly triggering and really serious, but it's also incredibly common is what I've learned the more I've advocated for suicide prevention and for suicide awareness and for suicide survivors and for loved ones who have lost people to suicide. It's just something that touches so many more people than I think are willing to come out and say it. And so, yeah, I was at that point in Panama. Things had gotten so bad. But even then, I mean, I basically had no choice but to leave. The person I was dating at the time, basically, I'm like, I need help. He drives me to the airport. I take a one-way flight to San Francisco because that's where most of my American community is. And I wash ashore in a Xanax stupor, unemployed, broke, in debt, uninsured, just knowing that I needed to pick my life back up and put some pieces together. It took several more years, multiple more years before I realized I really, really need help with the substance piece of it, and that I really need to make these sort of fundamental changes in the way I live if I want to give myself a fighting chance at living. And so, yeah, for a while, I mean, I just really regretted. I just would look back on my time in Panama as this is the thing I failed at. This is the thing I lost. I could have been on this reality TV show for more episodes. I could have built this school in the middle of the jungle. And I look back now, I'm like, what was I thinking? I mean, I would not have spent more than 2 days down there now. It was just not what it purported to be, and my judgment was so off. And so in a way, I was just so lucky that my life crashed and burned to that degree that I had no choice but to leave, because it did take a while for me to realize that I was walking away from something highly problematic that was contributing to my real sickness.
Your mental health, It is funny how when we are young and we're going through all of this and like it's that coming of age thing, is that we forget to have feelings. And that's what's coming from you right now, is like you don't know how to deal with anything. When you're numbing everything out with drink and drugs and boyfriends and travels and moving around the world and not really having to think about anything, it feels good in the time because you don't deal with life. I was running away. All my friends were getting married. They had good jobs, and I was like, fuck that, I'm out. But I never learned anything because I never grew, and I was sort of stunted at the age that I started drinking because I never looked outside of it, and I never had the opportunity for personal growth. And I think for everybody, and it sounds like for you too, Carly, that there becomes a point where you get fed up with being stuck in who you are. And what was it for you? What was that turning point?
You know, if you look back at my story, it was just another random day. It was like yet another bender. And as I write, I never considered myself an addict in the sort of conventional cultural sense because I wasn't, you know, abusing substances every day. I wasn't drinking. I could go weeks without drinking, but it was more I didn't have the off switch, and I was really using it so problematically to escape the hellscape inside my brain. And so I think it was just, I was, like they say in sobriety circles, I was sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. And I was hungover from 24 hours of who knows what at where, who knows where party. And I'm in my bed and I'm miserable. I can barely go downstairs to have a glass of water, to eat anything. And it's 4 p.m. on a Sunday and I have to go to work. And I had this fleeting premonition in my head that was like, you need rehab. And my immediate reaction to that thought, it's so crazy when your brain is playing ping pong with itself and not even willing to accept what it's thinking. I had this immediate like batting it down. No, I'm exaggerating. This is crazy. And at that point I had tried every depression treatment under the sun, except for the real help I needed with my concurrent substance abuse disorder. And so I remember thinking, all right, if I still feel like this in the morning, I'm going to tell my therapist about all the drugs and drinking I've been doing. And I had hidden that from her for years. And I finally laid it all out for her. And she was the one who helped me realize, this is not just, you're not just a party girl. This is highly problematic behavior that would benefit from what she called at the time a full life intervention. And that's what happened. I went away to rehab, and it was there that I really started to put the pieces of my life back together and realize this is the root of things that might actually help me find a path towards more lasting healing.
I'm so interested, Carly, in that rehab. How long were you there for?
I was there for 19 days until my insurance kicked me out. The thing that really transformed me there was that sense of community and camaraderie with everyone I was in there with. I mean, I remember learning how to laugh with people without the aid of substances, and it was revelatory. I mean, the idea that I could be happy without drugs and alcohol bringing me to that happiness was just so mind-blowing. And I remember feeling almost this addict imposter syndrome when I got there, like, oh, I'm not that bad. I'm just here to like clean myself up a little. I just need a little reset. And a guy I was having dinner with the first night was like, okay, well, good luck with that. And, it was really like self-help summer camp, I think is what we called it.
Amazing.
And I was really hesitant to continue treatment after I went home and went back to work and continued in my everyday life. But I remember I just felt so good by the time I was leaving. Like this 2.5-week transformation was so fundamental that I said, all right, I will do whatever it takes to keep feeling this way. If my discharge counselor thinks I need 90 days of outpatient rehab, fine. As long as I keep feeling this way. And somewhere along the way in my outpatient program, I think one of my counselors said to me, you're really, really dedicated to your sobriety. And that crept up on me too, because I didn't even necessarily set out to get sober. I just set out to reset some things. And I thought, hey, you know what? I am really committed to this. And I'm really just committed to never feeling the way I felt before. And if that means waking up every morning deciding to continue treating myself with care, then sign me up for that,
And it is good to simplify it like that sometimes, because it can feel overwhelming, I think, for people that are early in their sobriety. It's like, is it going to be this fucking hard forever? And of course it's not, but it doesn't mean to say you can stop. And for me, like, that's the reason why I do this podcast. It's the reason I have these chats. It's the reason I do everything I do. It's because I need to. If I'm not doing sobriety, it means that there's something seriously wrong, actually. But I can totally feel like it is overwhelming for people to imagine doing that level of work all the time.
Definitely. Well, thank you for the work you do. I mean, just having resources like this I wouldn't have gotten through. I still wouldn't get through. I listen to podcasts now and I feel like I'm hearing a conversation with a version of myself. And it's just so helpful. I think the community piece of it and the helping other addicts and alcoholics piece of it is so fundamental to just the spirit of sobriety.
It is quite hard work doing a podcast because sometimes you feel like you're sort of shouting into a hole and you're not sure whether anyone can hear you or not. So it's lovely to know that it helps. And I often get amazing emails from people all over the world saying, I didn't know that I had a problem until I started listening to you. Because, our message on Sober Awkward is the same as what you experienced, was that feeling of maybe my drinking isn't bad enough to be deserving of professional help, which of course it is. And that is a really, really strong message that we try to pump out there. Like, it doesn't matter if you're not as bad as Jack that lives down the road who's clutching a bottle of Jack Daniels to his chest. All that matters is that you are suffering and that you want to change. And that is everybody I've ever met in the sober community is just people who want to change. And I remember sitting in a AA meeting, actually. My sister is 26 years sober from AA. And she took me to a meeting with her when I was probably 22. And I remember sitting there having the same feelings as you had. Like, I sat with my arms crossed. I'm not like these people. Like, what am I doing here? And everything they said at the beginning, I was like, yeah, you've got real problem. You're proper alcoholics. Really judgy, really awful. And I was in my drinking heyday, remember, like in my early 20s. I think I'd just come back from blowing my finger off in Thailand. And I remember sitting there thinking, I hate you all. And the longer I'm a horrible person. And I sat there, and the longer they spoke and the more stories I heard, I can remember feeling my whole body start to change and relax and go, I'm not here because I don't like you. I'm here because I am you. And it took me many, many years to remember that meeting and go, like, I walked out there going, there's a load of fucking alcoholics and Bible bashers in there. I was really judgy, and I was doing everything I could to push that away, because I was like, my drinking's okay. I do what I like. This is who I am, and no one's going to stop me. And it's funny how we do that when we're in sort of active addiction. I've never really called it that before, but we're pushing away the help. And that is this little place, isn't there, where a lot of people fallen through the cracks, is where you don't realize that you are deserving of that help. And it's about stepping over that crack and finding the right people, just like you did.
Hearing you say that, I think so much came up for me while you were saying that. One is this sort of suffering imposter syndrome that I felt for so long. I think because my life looked so good on paper, because I was well resourced. I mean, I'm, in the most privileged tier of humanity by all measures, except for the way my brain treats itself, my own worst enemy. And so that sort of suffering imposter syndrome, this like, I should feel good, so why don't I? I should be so ashamed that I don't deserve these things I have. If you're wondering if you might have a problem, then chances are, I would say probably 100 times out of 100, help will help you. And that was a really hard lesson to take in, that like, even though I was born into a world where certain things come relatively easily, like my suffering is still suffering, and there's still help out there for me.
It's relative. It's relative to your life. And if getting help makes you feel better, I think sometimes people find help selfish. It's like, well, I can't do that. I might be taking the space of someone else, or somebody might deserve it more than me because I'm just a kind of binge drinking mum and I'm just a party animal. I'm fine. And it's about not being selfish. And my not being selfish, that ripples through my family on a day-to-day basis. It's not about being selfish. Right. If you look at it like that, you can flip that on its head and go, actually, I'm not doing this for me. I'm going to do it for everybody else that's around me. I'm going to do it for the person who has to hold my ponytail every time I'm vomiting up tequila shots into a toilet. I'm going to do it for the ambulance driver who's had to pick me up. You don't have to do it for yourself if that feels like selfish to you. You can do it for everybody else as well. It doesn't really matter, just as long as you do it, I guess.
Think about how much better off your world is and the ripple effects because you chose to get help. I think that it's probably the most selfless thing.
Yeah, it does sound tough to do, but it is possible for everybody. I've got to ask you very quickly. We've got a few more minutes. I want to ask you about the writing process, because I've written my drinking memoir. It's called 1,000 Wasted Sundays. And I loved the process. Like, gosh, wasn't it fun to be able to just put it all out there? I never in a million years dreamt I'd get a publishing deal, but here we are. How did you go with it, writing it all down? Was it in your early sobriety? Did you feel like, oh my God, I can do this, I can do this, and then you pop out the other side and go, oh my God, why have I said that?
No, I've always been a writer, so I've always known I wanted to write a book. But one of the interesting things that sobriety did was allowed me to admit that. I think I was so afraid. There's so much about writing a book that is just fundamentally terrifying between, can I do it? Will I hate it? Will I finish it? And then when you finish it, is it good? Will anyone read it? Will anyone want to publish it? And then it's like, once it's published, will anyone read it? Can I sell? So there's just so many barriers that I think for years I built my career as an editor. So I was like, oh, well, I don't want to write a book. That's for someone else. And I think the first step, I've been sober for 7.5 years now. And I think early on, I was willing to admit this is like the pinpricks of a dream that I know I've always had. And then when I left my job, I was running a newspaper in San Francisco 3 years into sobriety. And I left my job doing that. And I knew I wanted to write a book, but I didn't know what I wanted to write a book about. And so I kind of I was like, I'm going to write a novel. I'm going to write a polyamorous love triangle against the backdrop of the pandemic. Who wants to read that? Like, no, thank you. And so I remember I took myself on a retreat to a cabin up in Northern California, and I start outlining, and I think I'm going to write this, dumb romance novel. And what ends up happening is I started outlining my own story. And I was like, maybe this is the kind of thing where if I can frame a narrative around it, I might be able to both help people, but also entertain them, because I have had some pretty absurd, outlandish experiences. So maybe someone will see themselves in me again, like the people I was in rehab with. The details will be different, but the feelings will be the same. And so it just came from that and then took on a life of its own. It's a pretty surreal experience. I think that's sort of how it came to fruition. And the biggest surprise, I will say, is I thought I was going to write one book and then I was going to hate doing it, but I had to do it. My agent said, you don't write a book because you want to write a book. You write a book because you need to write a book. She's totally right. I needed to do this. It bled out of me. And the thing that surprised me most was how much I loved it. Like you said, you loved writing. I loved it. I want to write another book. So now I'm working on another book.
It's really heartbreaking and validating all at once in one breath, isn't it? It's like, yes, you're good enough to do this, but there are still those comments. Don't read the reviews. I make the mistake occasionally when I'm feeling weak and pathetic. Most of them are good, but then there's one that says, what a load of shit. That's it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's my entire life. That book took me 7 years to write. Like, how can it be a load of shit? That's so offensive.
My blood. I know, it's my baby. Someone said this book should be called How to Party with Depression. And I'm like, if that's what you're getting out of it, Godspeed.
I've got a copy of it, but we'll do a swap and I'll send you mine and you send me yours.
I would love to do that. I can't wait. I love your title. I mean, it's just, you're such a kindred spirit. I feel like we have so much to learn from each other still.
If you're questioning your relationship with booze, struggling to moderate, or your hangovers are causing anxiety, it might be time to reach out for some support. Talk to a mate, book in with your GP, go to an AA meeting, or find an online support group. I've got one. Just head to cuppa.community. For more resources, head to soberawkward.com, where you'll find details of our amazing Thailand sober holidays, the 30-day sobriety guide, books, blogs, writing courses, and loads more. I know this sobriety thingamajig can feel uncomfortable at first, but there is help out there. Find your community, connect, and start to feel the awkward and do it anyway. And if you've enjoyed the Sober Awkward podcast, please rate it, review it, and share it with your mates. Because honestly, my mates are bored of hearing about it.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Stephen here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Stephen will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellows wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, this is Adam Grant, host of Ted's podcast, Rethinking with Adam Grant. Have you heard of Bill? It's the intelligent finance platform that uses AI to help you avoid costly errors and optimize cash flow. In fact, Bill reports that over 90 of the top 100 U.S. accounting firms trust them to manage, move, and maximize money, proven by over $1 trillion in secure transactions. Eliminate the friction and start scaling with the proven choice. Visit Bill.com/proven to talk with an expert about automating your business finances and get a $250 gift card as a thank you. That's Bill.com/proven. Terms and conditions apply. See offer page for details.
Okay, caller one wins courtside seats to tonight's game.
What? I won floor seats?
You did.
I've been calling for 13 months.
Wait, Chris?
Yes, I finally did it.
What are you going to wear?
Men's Warehouse. They've got today's looks for any occasion, and I need to look like a celebrity.
Don't want to stick out.
Exactly. They've got Chill Flex by Kenneth Cole, Joseph Abboud, and a tailor at every store for the perfect fit.
Congrats. You can stop calling now.
Not a chance.
Get any look for every occasion at Men's Warehouse. Love the way you look.
So, as you probably know, my comedy memoir, 1,000 Wasted Sundays, is officially out. All my magnificent fuck-uppery in one awkward hit. If you'd like to get your hands on a copy, it's now available from all good bookstores.
We always say all good bookstores, don't we?
Yeah.
Are there bad
No,
bookstores?
it's probably ones with moody sellers.
Oh yeah, really
Yeah.
depressed librarian folk.
Yes.
Okay, good.
So there are probably some, but we're only storing it in the good ones.
It's only made it into the goodies.
You can also get it from all good online retailers. The print version and ebook are out now, and the audiobook will be available in March. I've been writing my memoir for 5 years. It will make you laugh, cry and cringe, and hopefully inspire a few people to reconsider their relationship with booze. If you love the podcast, then I think you'll love the book, even if I do say so myself. Hamish has read it. What did you think?
I feel like I know a little bit too much about you now, to be honest, Vic. Look, I really loved it. It was hilarious and surprisingly moving, but I feel like I've seen you naked in a literary sense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's worrying.
Yeah. From an emotional point of view, seriously, it wobbled my teeny weeny wooden heart, Vic.
Okay.
My teeny little wooden heart.
Well, his wooden heart is broken. Anyway, so if you do manage to get your filthy mitts on a copy, please do me a favour and head to goodreads.com and give me a review. Doing that will help me get it out there to those that need a bit of sober support. So there you have it. My story, unwanted warts and all. Come and get awkward with me.
Not to be too demanding or anything, but seriously, go and buy it now.
Yeah, go and buy it. Go and buy it right now.
Yeah, don't just tell your friends, buy it, and then buy your friends one or two.
Yeah, don't give them a copy.
Yeah.
Buy it, yeah.
And you know what? Don't be careful where you store it. If you lose it, you can always buy another 5.
Buy another one.
Yeah.